Who should Dustin Poirier face in his final fight in the UFC? G'day guys, welcome back to today's video. In today's video, we are going to be going over Dustin Poirier's final fight in the UFC, which is yet to be announced, but he has more than made it clear that he will be having a final fight in the UFC. And there are a few different opponents I want to look at and sort of dissect and go over. And before we sort of make a determination on who should really be Poirier's final fight in the UFC. I feel like there's three strong options at the moment. Two of those options have to play out, but there's one that I do favour. But we will get to all that. Um, he obviously had an incredible career, Poirier. Last fought for the lightweight title against Islam, and in a fight that maybe many thought he wouldn't get that crack at Islam, but he got that shot. He got his third title shot. Came up short, but I mean, how can you not love Dustin Poirier? He's one of the best of all time. So we're going to look at the very first option. Yeah. So I will minimize myself. Okay. So the first option I feel like um, is going to suit for Dustin Poirier would be a fight with Max Holloway. Max is obviously coming off a loss to Ilia Topuria in October. Um, these guys have fought before. Poirier winning the last time they fought for that interim title back in 2019. Um, there's history there. Both these guys are never short of a fun fight. Especially Holloway at 55 now. The Holloway that fought Poirier back in 2019 was definitely a different version of Max. I don't think he fully incorporated his weight correctly, and it didn't really translate to 55. Obviously, he was doing a lot of damage to guys at 145, and then when he made the move up and fought Poirier just sort of ate every shot he had during that fight. So I just feel like now is the right time. Max obviously slept Justin Gaethje in their fight back at UFC 300, one of the most incredible knockouts ever. And I just feel like this fight maybe could quite be the right one at the right time. And I feel like, age wise, Max, I don't know if we ever see Max get another featherweight title shot after his loss to Ilya. Uh, he's technically he's still the BMF champion. So there's that case to be made that you could put the BMF title on the line. Dustin could win the BMF title. There's every chance he could do that in his final fight. I think that would be a pretty fitting one, considering he lost the BMF title fight too to Gaethje, middle of the year before, 2023. So it would be a good comeback for him and a nice way to round out his career, winning a title, not the title he wanted, but still nonetheless a good feather in his cap. The next one we're going to look at is Justin Gaethje. So Justin Gaethje and uh, and Poirier have fought twice before. They're now one apiece, so I feel like this could make a lot of sense too. Both guys are pretty much the same age. They're past that 35 mark. I think Poirier might be a touch older than Gaethje at 36, but nonetheless, still a very similar age bracket. Gaethje got that massive highlight win, the head kick KO against Poirier 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago rather. Um, and being at one apiece, I feel like maybe that's a very strong option as well. Um, I don't know. I feel like Poirier and Gaethje could make for a very fun fight if Gaethje gets through his next opponent, which leads me to my last option, which is Dan Hooker. Now these two, Hooker and Poirier, had a phenomenal fight back in 2020, early days of the pandemic in the UFC Apex. One of the best fights of the year that year. One of the best fights of the whole Apex era. You could say it's one of your favorite fights of all time, and no one's going to doubt you because it was a back and forth barn burner. Both guys threw everything they had at each other, and I mean, you look at what Hooker's done of late. beating Gamrot in Perth last year. He's now ranked number 5 again. I feel like Poirier is probably around that 4 or 3 mark. So, there's many different options there. What Dan Hooker's done, his resurgence, in the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years, has been quite incredible. After his loss to Islam, or 2020, lost to Islam, lost to Michael Chandler, had a few back-to-back losses there, and then he comes back and beats what's his name? Jalen Turner. He beats Jalen Turner, beats Gamrot, who, Gamrot was his hardest fight to date, and he got through Gamrot. And this new tatted up version of Dan Hooker is proving to be like an alter ego. But man, is he good? He is a force to be reckoned with at 155 pounds. He's so long, so tall. He has such a big reach for a guy at lightweight, and a very tall lightweight too. Um, but I do think Gaethje and Hooker are going to be fighting March 13th, or March 8th rather, at UFC 313. That's pretty well confirmed. I'm putting a video out soon about that being confirmed. But these are your 3 options. I feel like are the strongest: Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, and Dan Hooker. For me personally, the one I want to see the most is Max Holloway. I want to see Max get another crack at Dustin after his loss back in 2019. I think both guys are right there. They both lost their last fight, both to the champion of their respective weight classes. Max losing to Ilya at 145 pounds, Dustin losing to Islam at 155 pounds. I just feel like this fight makes a lot of sense. I feel like there's a lot of respect there between both men, and that they're almost friends, if you will. What after watching their last fight all those years ago, you know it's there's definitely a lot of respect there. So I feel like Max versus Dustin Poirier makes the most sense for Dustin's last fight. Whether that happens or not, it will. Here we are. It remains to be seen. But Dustin has always fought around that international fight week timeline. He's always sort of fought around June, July. He fought the year before, 2023, against Gaethje, and then fought last year against Islam. So who knows? He did have the broken nose from the Islam fight, so he would have had to get surgery, and that's a pretty long recovery, and something he said he's had multiple times before. So not a fun injury to go through, I would imagine, being him. So I do feel like, though, that sort of timeline would make sense. Middle of the year, something like that. This goddamn fly, but but yeah, I think Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier's final fight makes the most amount of sense to me. Whether you guys have a different opinion, let me know. If there's anyone else you think would make a better final fight for Dustin Poirier, leave it in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. Mine's obviously Max Holloway, but you got many options. I feel like there's probably even more options out there. I mean, you could throw Connor in there, but I don't think Connor's going to fight again. You could put Arman Sarukian in there if Arman loses this weekend at UFC 311. Guys were teammates. There's a bit of a storyline there. There's Colby. There's all these different scenarios. But let me know what you guys think, who you would like to see Dustin fight in his final fight in the UFC, and of his illustrious UFC career. Guys, that's all for me today. Let me know again who you think Dustin should fight. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It's helping us out a lot. And until the next video, I will see you guys then.